It started on an ordinary Tuesday morning. People were walking to work, children were heading to school, and the world was spinning as it always had. Then the sky changed. In every major city across Earth, the clouds parted to reveal massive holographic projections that blocked out the sun. Traffic stopped. Phones came out to record. Military bases went on high alert. But for 5 long minutes, nothing happened except the steady hum of energy that kept the hologram stable. Then he appeared, a tall figure in a dark uniform adorned with symbols no human had ever seen before. His skin was pale blue, and his eyes held the cold look of someone who had given this speech many times before. "People of Earth," the figure spoke in perfect English, his words automatically translating into every language across the globe. "I am Admiral Marcus of the Imperial Fleet. Your planet has been chosen to join the Galactic Empire. This is an honor that has been bestowed upon 10,000 worlds before you." In New York, a hot dog vendor dropped his tongs. In Beijing, a businessman forgot about his meeting. In Lagos, a teacher stopped mid-sentence, her students gathering at the windows to stare at the sky. "The terms are simple," Admiral Marcus continued. "Complete surrender of all military forces, acceptance of imperial governance, integration into our economic system." He paused, allowing his words to sink in. "You have 30 standard days to comply. After that, we will assume you have chosen extinction." The hologram flickered once and disappeared, leaving behind a countdown timer floating in the sky. 30 days, 720 hours, 43,200 minutes. Inside the Pentagon, General Robert Thompson stared at the screen showing global military readiness reports. His weathered face broke into an unexpected smile. "Sir," his aide asked, confused by the general's reaction, "shouldn't we be worried?" Thompson picked up his secure phone. "Get me the president. It's time." He looked at the young aide. "Son, we've been preparing for this day for 40 years, ever since we found that crashed scout ship in '83. Across the world, similar scenes played out. In underground bunkers and secret facilities, commanders and leaders activated protocols that had existed only in sealed documents. The public might have thought humanity was caught off guard, but they were wrong. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Linda Wells powered up a computer system that hadn't been connected to any network in decades. The screen flickered to life, showing the simple message, "Project Guardian activated." In orbit around Jupiter, what appeared to be a routine mining operation suddenly went dark. The civilian workers dropped their cover identities. Captain James Miller addressed his real crew for the first time without pretense. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a drill. Operation Thunderstorm is now in effect." The Empire's massive ships hung at the edge of the solar system, their sensors showing exactly what they expected, a primitive civilization with basic space capabilities. Their scans missed the shipyards hidden in asteroid hollows. They didn't detect the weapon platforms disguised as space debris. And they certainly didn't notice the fleet of warships powered down and waiting in the shadow of Jupiter's moons. In the White House Situation Room, the president met with his counterparts from other world powers via secure quantum channels that the Empire couldn't detect. The Russian president spoke first. "All our units are ready." China's leader nodded. "Our forces are in position." One by one, they confirmed what decades of secret cooperation had built. The president looked at General Thompson. "How long until we're ready?" "Sir, we've been ready since they entered the solar system last week. We were just waiting for them to make the first move." Thompson's eyes gleamed. "They expect us to take 30 days to consider surrender. I suggest we give them our answer much sooner than that." The president looked around the screen at the faces of humanity's leaders. They had all inherited this secret from their predecessors, the knowledge that Earth wasn't defenseless. That humanity had been preparing. Each nodded in agreement. "Very well," the president said. "Send the order. Operation Thunderstorm begins in 24 hours. He stood up straighter. "Let's show them how humanity responds to threats." In orbit, Hidden ships began powering up their systems. Crews moved to battle stations, and in the vast darkness of space, humanity prepared to teach the Empire a lesson about underestimating primitive species. Commander Jane Stone stood in the massive underground chamber beneath the lunar surface, watching as lights flickered on one by one, illuminating the biggest secret humanity had ever kept. Around her, row after row of warships stretched into the distance, their dark hulls gleaming under the artificial lights. "Status report," she called out, her voice echoing in the vast space. "All ships reporting ready, Commander," her second-in-command, Tom Baker, responded. "The Empire still hasn't detected us. Their scanners can't penetrate our stealth shielding." Jane allowed herself a small smile. The Empire thought they were so advanced, but they'd never considered that their scanning technology might have blind spots. Human scientists had discovered years ago that certain combinations of materials could bend energy readings around them, making them invisible to standard scans. Above them, through miles of lunar rock, the Empire's countdown continued in Earth's sky. 29 days remained until their deadline. It wouldn't need nearly that long. "Open channel to all commanders," Jane ordered. The communication system crackled to life, connecting her to similar hidden bases across the solar system. In the asteroid belt, in Jupiter's moons, and even in the depths of Mars' polar ice caps, humanity's secret fleet waited. "This is Commander Stone. Operation Thunderstorm begins in 18 hours. All ships begin final preparations." She paused, looking at the massive vessel in front of her, the flagship of humanity's fleet. "Remember your training. We've practiced this for years. The Empire thinks they're hunting sheep, but they're about to meet wolves." In the ship's loading bay, crews worked quickly and quietly. Unlike the Empire's energy weapons, human ships carried physical ammunition. Tungsten rods for the railguns, nuclear-tipped missiles designed to work in space, and experimental weapons that the Empire had never encountered. Deep in the ship's engineering section, Dr. Thomas Hart made final adjustments to the fusion drive. The Empire's ships used some kind of exotic matter for propulsion. They'd never expect human ships to match their speed using primitive technology like fusion power. "Primary systems check complete," he reported through the intercom. "The Thunder Child is ready for launch." Throughout the ship, similar reports came in. Weapons, navigation, life support. Everything was operating at peak efficiency. They had built these ships using Earth's best technology, improved by reverse engineering pieces of that crashed scout ship found decades ago. In the command center, Jane reviewed the tactical displays. The Empire had positioned their ships in a standard formation, the same one they'd used to conquer thousands of worlds. It was efficient against enemies who fought the way the Empire expected. But humanity wasn't going to play by their rules. "Message from Earth Command," Tom reported. "The President wants to speak to all crews." Jane nodded, and the screens lit up with the President's face. He looked tired but determined. "Men and women of Earth's defense fleet," he began. "Today we reveal ourselves not just to the Empire, but to our own people. For generations, we've carried this secret, preparing for this moment. Every space mission, every satellite launch, every failed experiment was part of building our strength in secret." He leaned forward. "The Empire thinks they know what humanity is capable of. They've seen our cities, our visible technology, our public space programs, but they don't know about the ships we've hidden. They don't know about the weapons we've developed. And most importantly, they don't know about the strength of the human spirit." In her command chair, Jane checked the final launch preparations. Around her, crew members moved with purpose, each knowing their role in the coming battle. "The Empire gave us 30 days to surrender," the President continued. "Instead, we're going to give them something else, a demonstration of humanity's resolve. Good luck, and good hunting." As the message ended, Jane opened the shipwide channel. "All hands, battle stations, prepare for launch sequence." The massive doors above the lunar base began to open, revealing the star-filled sky beyond. In similar bases across the solar system, hundreds of other ships prepared to move. The Empire was about to learn that humanity's response to threats wasn't surrender, it was resistance. Launch in T-10 minutes, the computer announced. Operation Thunderstorm is now active. Space was quiet until it wasn't. The first shot of the war wasn't fired by the Empire's advanced energy weapons. Instead, it came from a simple railgun on the human ship Defiant. The tungsten rod, moving at a fraction of light speed, struck an Imperial cruiser before its shields could even activate. Direct hit, Weapons Officer Jack Brown reported, his voice calm despite the historical moment. Their shields were calibrated for energy weapons. They never expected physical ammunition. Captain Wilson nodded. Send the signal. All ships, execute Pattern Alpha. The human fleet moved like a school of fish, breaking into smaller groups. Each group had practiced this dance for years. While the Empire's ships stayed in their rigid formation, human vessels darted between asteroids and moons, using the solar system itself as cover. Admiral Marcus watched in growing horror as his tactical display lit up with red warnings. Impossible, he muttered. Their ships are moving too fast for such primitive technology. My lord, his second-in-command reported, we've lost contact with the third battle group. Some kind of new weapon. In the asteroid belt, Commander Stone's ships had surrounded an Imperial destroyer. Instead of energy beams, they fired clouds of small metal balls. The balls didn't damage the Imperial ship's hull, but they shredded its sensor arrays and weapon ports. The mighty warship was blinded and declawed in seconds. Target disabled. Stone reported, moving to next objective. The Empire's response was predictable. They tried to form a defensive sphere, the same tactic they'd used for 1,000 years. But humanity had studied old Earth naval battles. They knew how to break such formations. Nuclear missiles streaked through space, not aimed at the Imperial ships, but at nearby asteroids. The explosions sent waves of debris into the Empire's formation, forcing their ships to either lower shields to maneuver or be pelted by rocks moving at orbital speeds. They're breaking formation, General Thompson announced in the White House bunker. Phase 2 is ready. The president gave a grim nod. Do it. From behind Mars, humanity's reserve fleet appeared. These ships were different, smaller, faster, built for one purpose. They carried no weapons. Instead, they were packed with the most powerful radio transmitters ever built. The Imperial fleet's communication network dissolved into chaos as human ships broadcast on every frequency, using techniques developed from a century of electronic warfare on Earth. Commands were lost, coordination collapsed, and the mighty Imperial formation began to fall apart. In the chaos, Captain Wilson led his battle group straight for the Imperial flagship. All ships, fire pattern Delta. Let's show them what Earth can do. Rail guns spat tungsten rods. Missile launchers emptied their tubes. Electronic warfare pods filled space with false signals. The Imperial flagship's shields, designed to stop energy weapons, struggled against this primitive but effective onslaught. Admiral Marcus watched his tactical display dissolve into static. Half his fleet was out of formation, their sophisticated systems overwhelmed by Earth's electronic attacks. A third of his ships were blind, their sensors destroyed by debris or small projectiles. And now his flagship's shields were failing against weapons that shouldn't have been a threat. Send the signal, he ordered. Call for reinforcements. But his communication officer shook his head. We can't, sir. They're jamming. It's like nothing we've ever seen. We're cut off. In the White House bunker, the president watched the battle unfold. Human ships moved with precision, using tactics developed over thousands of years of warfare on Earth. The Empire's technological advantage meant nothing against humanity's experience and creativity. Status report, he demanded. General Thompson smiled. We've lost 12 ships. They've lost 47. Their formation is broken, their communications are down, and they can't call for help. He paused. Sir, we're winning. The president nodded. Send word to all ships. Press the advantage. Show them why you don't threaten Earth. In space, humanity's fleet moved in for the kill. The Empire was about to learn that technology alone doesn't win wars. Sometimes, the old ways were the best ways, and humanity had been practicing the art of war for a very, very long time. 1 week after the first battle, Admiral Marcus stood before the Imperial War Council, trying to explain how a primitive species had destroyed half his fleet. "They don't fight like civilized beings," he said, showing holographic replays of the battle. "They use tricks, traps. They hide behind moons and asteroids. They fight like animals." The council members watched as a human ship appeared from behind an asteroid, fired its weapons, and vanished again before Imperial ships could respond. This wasn't how space warfare was supposed to work. In the Empire's experience, battles were fought in the open, with proper formations and energy weapons. Meanwhile, in the belt between Mars and Jupiter, Commander Stone's fleet was teaching the Empire another lesson about human warfare. "Target their supply ships," she ordered. "An army marches on its stomach. That's as true in space as it was on Earth." The human ships struck like ancient pirates, appearing from nowhere to attack Imperial supply lines. They didn't try to destroy the massive Imperial warships. Instead, they targeted fuel tankers, ammunition carriers, and repair vessels. Without supplies, the biggest warship was just a hollow shell. In the White House bunker, General Thompson explained the strategy to the president. "We're using every lesson from Earth's military history. Vietnam taught us about guerrilla warfare. The Battle of the Atlantic showed us how to attack supply lines. The ancient Romans taught us about mobile warfare." The president watched as human ships struck another Imperial supply convoy. "And they can't adapt." "They don't know how," Thompson replied. "They'd fought the same way for 1,000 years. They never needed to change, until now." In deep space, Captain Wilson's ship, Defiant, led a bold attack. His ships released clouds of small, simple drones. The drones weren't weapons. They just broadcasted random signals on all frequencies. The Imperial ship's sophisticated sensors couldn't tell which signals were real threats and which were decoys. "They depend too much on their technology," Wilson told his crew. "They forgot the basics of warfare. Sometimes the simplest tricks work best." The Empire tried to adjust. They sent in their elite units, ships that had conquered 100 worlds. But these units had never faced an enemy who changed tactics in the middle of battle. Human ships would draw them in with one strategy, then suddenly switch to another. Admiral Marcus watched another battle group fall into a human trap. They chased what seemed to be a retreating human fleet, only to find themselves caught between two groups of Earth ships hiding behind a small moon. The human vessels attacked from multiple directions, their simple weapons overwhelming Imperial shields designed for different threats. "My lord," his tactical officer reported, "we've lost contact with the 7th Fleet. The humans are using some kind of signal jammers, but they're not like anything we've seen before." Marcus slammed his fist on his command chair. How are they blocking our quantum communications?" The answer was simple, though the Empire wouldn't understand it. Humans hadn't tried to match Imperial technology. Instead, they'd found ways around it. Their jammers used old-fashioned radio waves, which the Empire's sophisticated systems weren't designed to handle. In Earth orbit, General Thompson received reports from all fronts. Human ships were striking throughout the solar system, never staying in one place long enough for the Empire to respond. Imperial commanders, used to fighting set-piece battles, couldn't adapt to an enemy that refused to fight properly. "Send word to all commands," Thompson ordered. "Begin Phase 3. It's time to push them out of our solar system." The Empire was learning a hard lesson. They had superior technology, but humans had something more valuable: thousands of years of experience in warfare. And they were using every dirty trick, every clever strategy, and every hard-learned lesson from Earth's long history of conflict. As another Imperial battle group fell into confusion, Admiral Marcus finally understood. The Empire hadn't faced warriors in centuries. They'd faced victims. But humanity had been preparing for this fight since the first human picked up a rock to throw at an enemy. The captured Imperial ship drifted silently in space, its hull scarred from battle. Inside, Dr. Thomas Hart led a team of scientists through the empty corridors. They had been waiting for this chance to get their hands on Imperial technology. "Over here," one of the scientists called out. "I think this is their main computer core." The room they entered was filled with glowing crystals, each one containing more data than all of Earth's computers combined. Dr. Hart pulled out a simple tablet computer and connected it to the Imperial systems. "Sir," his assistant said, "should that work? Connecting our technology to theirs." Hart smiled. "We designed this interface based on the scout ship we captured 40 years ago. Sometimes the old discoveries are the most useful ones." The tablet screen came alive with Imperial data, charts, maps, technical specifications, but most importantly, their historical records. As Hart read through the files, his eyes grew wide. "Call Earth Command," he ordered. "They need to see this." In the White House bunker, General Thompson and the President watched as Hart explained his discovery. The scientist's face on the screen could barely contain his excitement. "The Empire hasn't invented anything new in over 500 years, Hart explained. "They just used the same technology over and over. They got so powerful that they stopped trying to improve." The President leaned forward. "And that helps us how?" "Because their technology all works the same way," Hart replied. "Every ship, every weapon, every shield. They're all based on the same principles. Once you know how to beat one of their systems, you can beat them all," Thompson finished. On the captured Imperial ship, Hart's team worked quickly. They combined human and Imperial technology in ways the Empire had never imagined. Simple radio waves could disrupt their quantum communications. Physical ammunition could bypass their energy shields. And Earth's crude but effective electronic warfare could blind their sensors. Captain Wilson's voice came over the communication system. "Dr. Hart, we've got multiple Imperial ships heading your way. Whatever you're doing, do it fast." Hart uploaded the last of his data, sending the technical specifications to all Earth ships now. "Begin the upgrades as soon as you receive them." Across the solar system, human ships started changing. Engineers added Imperial technology to human weapons. They modified their shields to work in new ways. They created hybrid systems that were better than either human or Imperial technology alone. In his flagship, Admiral Marcus received alarming reports. Human weapons were becoming more effective. Their ships were moving faster. Their tactics, already unpredictable, were now supported by technology that shouldn't have been possible. "My lord," his science officer reported, "they're not just using our technology. They're improving it, making it work in ways we never considered." Marcus watched his tactical display as another battle group reported heavy damage from human attacks. How are they learning so fast? The answer was simple. Humans had never stopped learning. While the Empire had grown comfortable with its power, humanity had kept pushing boundaries, asking questions, trying new things. Back on Earth, General Thompson briefed the President on the latest developments. "Every hour, our ships get stronger. Dr. Hart's discoveries are changing the balance of power." "And the Empire?" the President asked. "They can't adapt fast enough. Their crews only know one way to fight, one way to use their technology. They don't know how to handle something new." In space, the human fleet began its largest operation yet. Ships equipped with hybrid technology moved into position. They had spent weeks learning the Empire's weaknesses. Now it was time to use that knowledge. Captain Wilson stood on his bridge, looking at the improvements his ship had received. The Defiant was now more powerful than any Imperial vessel of its size. But more importantly, it could do things the Empire thought impossible. "All ships, prepare for synchronized attack," he ordered. Let's show them what happens when you combine human ingenuity with Imperial technology. The Empire was about to learn another lesson. It wasn't enough to have advanced technology. You had to understand it, improve it, and be willing to use it in new ways. Humanity had taken the Empire's greatest strength and turned it into a weakness. Dr. Hart watched from the captured ship as the human fleet moved into attack position. "You know," he said to his team, "there's an old saying on Earth, knowledge is power." He looked at the Imperial data crystals that had revealed so many secrets. I don't think the Empire understood just how true that is. News traveled fast, even in the vast Empire. Stories spread about the primitive humans who had not only resisted but were actually winning. The Empire tried to suppress these stories, but they couldn't stop them all. On the conquered world of Proxima 3, alien workers in Imperial factories began sabotaging production. In the Centauri system, slave miners stopped working. Across 20 different star systems, conquered species began to whisper a new word: resistance. Admiral Marcus stood before the Imperial Council again, but this time the massive chamber was half empty. Many council members were busy dealing with uprisings on their worlds. "The humans must be crushed," Marcus insisted. "Every day we fail, more systems rebel. We must send in the main fleet." The council leader's hologram flickered as he spoke. "The main fleet is already dealing with rebellions in 3 sectors. How many ships do you need?" "All of them," Marcus replied. "We must end this now." Back in the solar system, human ships intercepted Imperial communications. Captain Wilson played the decoded messages for Earth Command. "They're getting desperate," he reported. "They're pulling ships from everywhere to attack us, exactly as we planned." General Thompson nodded. The strategy was working perfectly. Every ship the Empire sent to Earth was one less ship to control their conquered worlds, and Earth had prepared many surprises for the coming attack. Dr. Hart's voice came over the communication system. "General, we're picking up transmissions from other species. They want to help. They've seen how we fight and want to learn." The President spoke up. "Can we trust them?" "We don't have to," Thompson replied. "We just need them to keep causing trouble. Every rebellion ties up more Imperial ships." In deep space, Commander Stone's fleet encountered something new: an Imperial supply convoy being attacked by ships they didn't recognize. The alien vessels were crude copies of human tactics, using asteroids for cover and attacking with simple weapons. "Should we help them?" her tactical officer asked. Stone smiled. "Send them our combat data. Let's show them how it's done properly." The Empire had ruled through fear and superior technology. But now their technology wasn't so superior anymore. Human innovations were spreading. Conquered species were building their own versions of Earth's weapons. They weren't as good as human ships, but they didn't need to be. They just needed to cause chaos. In his flagship, Admiral Marcus received report after report of new rebellions. The Empire had spent centuries crushing resistance through overwhelming force. But now their forces were spread thin, trying to fight on too many fronts. "My lord," his communication officer called out, "we've lost contact with the Orion sector. The entire sector is in revolt." Marcus clenched his fists. This wasn't supposed to happen. The Empire had spent 1,000 years building their power. How could it all start falling apart in just a few months? The answer appeared on his screen. Another report of human ships attacking Imperial bases. They never struck the same place twice, never followed the same pattern. And now other species were copying their tactics, learning from Earth's example. On Earth, the President met with his advisors. The latest reports showed Imperial forces gathering for a massive attack. But they also showed the Empire pulling ships from 100 other worlds to make this attack possible. "They're falling into our trap," General Thompson said. "They think they have to crush us quickly to stop the rebellions. But the more ships they send here, the more worlds rebel," the President finished, "and the more their empire crumbles." In orbit, Captain Wilson's ship prepared for the coming battle. His crew had learned much in the past months. They had taken everything the Empire threw at them and turned it back against them. Now it was time for the final phase. "Send word to all ships," he ordered. "Operation Avalanche is ready to begin." Across the solar system, human vessels moved into position. They had spent months leading the Empire into this trap. Now it was time to spring it. As Imperial ships began appearing at the edge of the solar system, Wilson looked at his crew. "You know what they say about empires," he said. "The bigger they are, the harder they fall." The Empire was about to learn one final lesson about humanity. It wasn't enough to have power. You had to know how to keep it. And sometimes, the greatest threat wasn't the enemy in front of you. It was the example they set for others to follow. Earth's solar system blazed with the light of 10,000 engines. The Empire had committed its main fleet, nearly 5,000 ships, to crush humanity once and for all. Their massive vessels filled space, their weapons powered up for the final battle. Admiral Marcus stood on his command bridge, looking at the tactical display with satisfaction. Finally, he said, "We have them outnumbered. No more tricks. No more hiding." The human fleet seemed tiny in comparison. Just 800 ships spread throughout the solar system. But Captain Wilson, aboard the Defiant, smiled as he watched the Imperial ships approach. "All ships, confirm ready status," he ordered. One by one, the human vessels reported in. Each had been upgraded with Dr. Hart's hybrid technology. Each crew had trained for this moment. They weren't just fighting for Earth anymore. They were fighting for every species the Empire had ever oppressed. "Execute Operation Avalanche," General Thompson commanded from Earth. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The Imperial fleet pushed forward, their formation perfect, their numbers overwhelming. Then Captain Wilson gave the signal every human crew had been waiting for. "Activate the new drives. Show them what humanity has learned." In an instant, the nature of space warfare changed forever. Human ships vanished from their positions, reappearing inside the Imperial formation. Dr. Hart's team hadn't just studied Imperial technology. They had improved it. The Empire's FTL drives could only jump ships between stars. Humanity had figured out how to make small, precise jumps in combat. "Impossible," Marcus shouted as human ships materialized throughout his fleet. "Their drives can't do that." But they could. And that wasn't the only surprise humanity had prepared. Commander Stone's voice came over the command channel. "Phase 2, execute." From behind every moon, asteroid, and planetary shadow, new ships appeared. Not the decoys the Empire expected, but real vessels that had been hiding with improved stealth technology. The Empire's 5,000 ships suddenly faced not 800 enemies, but 2,000. "All ships, attack pattern Omega," Wilson ordered. Human vessels darted between Imperial ships, their improved weapons tearing through shields that had never been designed to stop such attacks. Their electronic warfare systems, now enhanced with Imperial technology, turned the enemy's communications into chaos. In the White House bunker, the president watched the battle unfold. "How long?" he asked. 10 minutes, Thompson replied. "That's all our ships need."